Guys, I'm not just gutted, but I'm actually fuming about this. The Boys Season 5 finally is one of the most exhausted things I've seen in years. There's nothing cool or genius or clever or any of the other positive words you want to attach to this monstrosity. It's simply sucked hardcore dicks. This Story in the Wind felt like 20 hours long. You can literally feel the writers running on fumes and not knowing what the fuck to do with the material anymore. If they would have just copied the ending of the comic, but with different characters, it would be epic in its own rights. But no, they had to deviate too much and deliver something so bizarre, I just want to punch the writers in the fucking face.
Okay.
For 5 seasons, this show sold itself as the anti-superhero series. And that shit was cool and totally unique. Starting with the first episode when Huey's girlfriend turns to kebab because A-Train ran through her. That's where I was like, holy shit, this show is something so different that I gotta watch it.
Fucking diabolical.
Loved the first season. It was so weird and bizarre. Crazy ass Superman doing his jam. Corrupted as fuck. Yeah, man, like, I was all up for that. Showing us a completely different perspective of what people with superpowers could do if they saw themselves superior over us. So going from how well it started, all the way to roughly, I guess, the ending of season 3, where things were falling apart by the seams already. But hey, you know, I thought they were a strong one, so the finale has to deliver to some capacity, right? I was so fucking wrong. And then I tune in for the finale, and suddenly it's every generic prestige TV ending it spent years mocking. Homelander dies in the safest, most mechanically predictable way imaginable. Butcher get the tragic redemption treatment we all saw coming from a mile away. Huey becomes the emotional center again, because apparently this show thinks nervous stuttering equals character development, and half the ending feels less like a finale and more like a corporate cleanup operation designed to preserve spin-offs and merch opportunities. This was supposed to be the final war, the final confrontation with one of the most dangerous person on Earth, Homelander. Instead, it felt like a tired writer's room speedrunning emotional closure because everybody was fed up with the show and badly wanted to go home.
That was the plan. Not a great plan.
The biggest problem isn't even the plot. It is the complete collapse of the show's entire identity. The earlier season felt legit dangerous for the crew, knowing any soup could pop and smoke them. But season 5? Bro, the only thing that felt threatening was the writing of how they are gonna fuck this up. And boy, did they answer that question with a vengeance. Anyway, let's start with the deep, because holy shit, what an absolute waste. For seasons, I kept thinking, alright, this guy has his moments. He's shown actual humanity buried under all that aquatic trauma. Maybe they're building toward an A-Train style redemption where he finally flips and joins the boys. That's a story. That's character development. But nope, instead they give him the most baffling, dumbest death in the entire fucking show. Predictable as hell, pointless as fuck, and completely devoid of any meaning. He just fucking dies like a chump after all that build up. You bring this guy through 5 seasons of increasingly weird shit. You saw him struggling with his identity, his place in the world, his genuinely pathetic need for connection. And that's how you end him? A cheap telegraphed death that lands with zero impact? Get the fuck out of here. And Homelander. Oh my god, guys. The butchering of Homelander. This guy was godlike for 5 fucking seasons. The sheer terror he inspired. The way he dominated every fucking scene he was in. Absolute menace that Anthony Starr poured into this character. And how do they end him? Begging for his life. Are you fucking kidding me? This narcissistic sociopath who viewed himself as superior to every living thing, who would rather burn the world than show weakness, suddenly becomes a sniveling coward. That ain't character development to me. That's character assassination. You know what would have been infinitely more satisfying? Keep that fucking bastard alive. Strip him of his powers, sure, but keep him breathing. Make him wear normal clothes, make him eat regular food. Put his pathetic, powerless ass on display like the zoo animal he always treated everyone else as. Let him rot in obscurity, begging Butcher to end him, hurling for death while the world watches the mighty Homelander reduced to nothing. That's the ending the show promised us. That's the cruel, vicious irony The Boys was built on, not the quick, merciful death after some whining. And don't even get me started on the fight choreography, because I nearly threw the fuck up watching Homelander struggle to fly away. What the fuck was that? This guy who has been flying since birth, who moves through the air like it's nothing, suddenly can't get airborne properly? It looked like a bad video game glitch. You know, every punch, blast, epic confrontation looked like it was staged by people who'd never seen an action movie before. I have seen better flight coordination in high school theater productions. But here's where I really started seeing red. The complete waste of Soldier Boy. You tortured Kimiko in that radiation chamber like a bunch of amateurs when you could have just woken up Soldier Boy. He already had the power to strip ability. He hated Homelander's guts with a passion that ran deeper than any of Butcher's grudges. Sure, he gave Homelander his powers, you know, the invisibility shit. But you telling me that proud narcissistic relic of toxic masculinity wouldn't jump at the chance to personally humble his own son, who represented everything wrong with the modern world? Recruiting him would have been messy. Sure, I will give you that. But it would have been way cooler than what we got. Instead, they tease us with his cryo return for a few episodes, dangle that potential in our faces, then freeze him back in, like some leftover takeout or saving for later. That's not writing, guys. That is blue-balling your audiences. And by the way, speaking of Kimiko, what in the actual fuck was that character assassination anyway? This woman has been through hell. Torture, experimentation, losing her voice, losing her family, practically losing literally everything. And she isn't angry enough until she sees Frenchie's fucking Force ghost? Are you absolutely out of your fucking mind?
The Force is strong with you.
That's the emotional trigger? Not the years of abuse, the systematic violence, not the rage that's been building inside her since childhood. Nah. She needs a spectral visit from her French boyfriend to finally get motivated, being touched on the heart, and then all of a sudden she blasts out of her fucking chest. That's not emotional storytelling. That's just fucking cringe on the highest order. And then suddenly, like I said, she can blast things. This random power manifestation that comes out of fucking nowhere with zero setup, apart from like the whole radiation thing and like experimenting on her. And then she can grow a new fucking power. What the fuck, man? It's horrible. It's lazy writing that treats me as a viewer like I'm fucking stupid to notice they pulled it out of their asses. And Frenchie's death, the episode before, felt absolutely nothing. A character I'd cared about for years dies, and I said that like I was watching a weather report. That's not because I'm heartless. That's because the show had murdered its own emotional credibility. When you speedrun character moments and treat death like a checkbox on a final to-do list, you train your audience to stop caring. Butcher's ending deserves special mention for being the most unnecessary, weightless adaptation of source material I've ever witnessed. In the comics, his death meant something. It had weight. It was quite tragic. Inevitable conclusion of a man who'd become the very thing he hunted. Here, though, oh shit, he dies in the comics, so I guess we gotta kill him too. But let's do it with 90% less emotion and 100% less climatic build-up. It was perfunctory, mechanical, like watching someone return a library book. The comic ending was ugly, hateful, morally disgusting, and unforgettable. This was forgettable before the credits even rolled. But the biggest sin, the one that keeps me up at night, is what they didn't do. Where was the Civil War? Where was the rally? Homelander had millions of devoted followers ready to die for him, ready to kill for him, ready to tear the country apart in his name. We should have gotten an epic confrontation in front of the White House. Homelander's army of true believers against Butcher's crew. Good soups and desperate humans piling up on a 20-minute chaotic battle royale while Soldier Boy charges up to blast Homelander back to morality. Avengers Endgame on a budget, yeah, sure, but with the viciousness and the brutality this show used to deliver. Instead, we got what? Some cramped indoor fights and emotional speeches? They fumbled this so hard that I'm surprised they didn't break their fingers. So, in hindsight, I wasted 5 years on this. 5 fucking years of investing in these characters, storylines, this entire world that they built. And this is what they delivered at the finish line. It's retarded beyond anything. Not one single payoff landed. Not one single promise the show made to me got honored. I genuinely sat there after the credits feeling robbed. Not disappointed or let down, no, robbed. Like someone reached into my chest and yanked something out and handed me back a wet paperback in its place. This show used to weaponize cynicism. Now it reads like it was written by people trying to pass a group counseling session. The satire is completely dead because they spent so many seasons screaming, "Look how evil everyone is," that they forgot to actually say anything meaningful. Nothing was clever anymore, or sharp. Nothing evolved. It just became louder. The most insulting thing about this finale is that it acts like it is profound when it's actually unbelievably conventional. The boys didn't die because it got too edgy. It died because it stopped being brave. The worst part, you can see flashes of the old show buried underneath the corpse. Anthony Starr still gives everything as Homelander. Carl Urban still carries scenes through his pure charisma. The cast is trying hard, so I will give them credit there. But the writing is completely drained. This isn't a finale made by people exploding with inspiration. This is a finale made by people relieved it is over. The boys spent years telling us superheroes are fake corporate products. Then the finale became one on its own. And it saddens me to my core that they were too busy patting themselves on the back for their 5-year achievement that somehow made any sane producer-writer say, "This is the ending the audience deserve." Fuck off. You fumbled something that could have been epic. While I sat there feeling like the biggest idiot in the room for ever believing this show had the guts to go all the way.